It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
12:03 on a game day. Oilers and the Detroit Red Wings coming up later tonight. 5:30 pregame with handsome Tom Gazzola getting you set for the Oilers and the Wings. Anything happen at the rink already today? Didn't really notice anything. It's too busy with CFL free agency and the lock shop. Didn't even get into some line combinations yet. We'll get into the Oilers and the Red Wings, obviously, as we work our way through the show today. Matt Kassian is scheduled to hop on with us as well, but he's not here yet. He's tardy. Who does he think he is? YouTube Trev at Century Casino? But he's going to pop in today. Gager, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good, buddy. Yeah, I don't. There might be another court appearance for young YTT for the tardiness.
I says, pardon. Yeah. Oh, you're gonna. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. So there might be a supplementary discipline from.
I like you being a supplementary discipline guy for Edmonton Sports Talk. You know, Maddie and I don't have to do it. You just slide in, slap a wrist, and move along. There he is. There's Cass. What's up, buddy?
Am I facing supplementary discipline?
No.
Cross-check somebody in the face. Is that what's going on?
Well, that's up to Gager now. I'll stay out of this.
No.
Okay.
You're on thin ice, Cass, but you're still.
I love this. Zedmo's in and says
Tommy Gazzola rolling in late.
Yeah, coming in hot. Zedmo's in and says Cass couldn't find a sweater. That's right. You always love the sweaters, right, Cass? You on a sweater today? What do you got there today? A sweater?
Hey, I no sweater today. I do like sweaters though. I don't know sweater. Just a golf shirt today, but I do like sweaters, so I totally get that. I mean, maybe that's what I was doing. Maybe I was looking for it. But the reality is, I just didn't look at the clock, and I needed to pee, and I didn't want to pee my pants.
I thought you were late because you were watching Deadpool Wolverine trailer.
No. Although I did see that pop up. So
have you watched it yet? Did you watch it? You haven't watched it yet?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Okay. I watched it.
Yeah. Gage, you watch it?
Oh yeah.
Does this get the MCU back on track, boys, or what?
I don't care if it does or not, but it's gonna be good. It's going to be good. The only superhero thing I'm really worried about is the boys. I'm waiting on pins and needles.
Why? What's going on with the boys? I'm not up to date on the boys. I've watched a bit of the boys.
Well, after the spinoff there, Gen V, the university kind of spinoff. I don't think it's out till the summer because of the writer's strike, but that's going to blow the doors off any other superhero stuff for me personally, anyway.
I am pretty excited for the Deadpool movie, especially with the TVA tie-in, because like when we last saw the TVA, Loki was holding the entire timelines together. So, I mean, Cass, they don't drop Loki into Deadpool Wolverine, do they?
That would be like a post-credit scene thing to me.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
That would be like something like that. Like, I don't think your main storyline, but post-credits, could you do it? Yeah, you could. Or it's going to be right at the beginning. And something's going to happen right at the beginning with the multiverse to throw it there. But I could see, you could see Loki sliding in at the end in an end credit scene. That would just to solidify tie to. I could see that happening.
I hope that I don't know if you guys walked out of Eternals or not, but if you did manage to make it through that whole movie and get to the end credits, there was a little bit of the special sword with I think it was with Jon Snow. I don't know if there's any like the Black Knight coming back, and of course Blade is another one that I loved, the original Blade series. I mean, looking back, it wasn't great, but it took me by surprise. I can't wait to see what they do with Blade coming up. I believe it's this summer too.
Yeah, they got a lot going on. And then there's the Twisters. I watched the trailer for Twisters, which looked awesome too. And I'm a big Glenn Powell guy since Maverick. I thought he was awesome in Maverick as Hangman. So I'm excited for the new Twisters movie too. It's going to be a good summer. Good blockbuster summer. I'm excited for that. Should give us lots of content here on Two Guys and a Goalie and Edmonton Sports Talk. Because by then, and I hope by then, Nobody's talking about the Morgan Riley cross-check anymore. It will be now. He was supposed to have an in-person, but due to some weather issues, not able to get there, so it's going to be virtual meeting where they're going to be like, oh, is this connected? Can you see me? Am I talking right? That's usually how it works in these things. I've been waiting to talk with you guys since this happened. Cass, let's start with you. Let's just start with the clapper into the empty net. It doesn't happen very often.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you liked
it? It was
it?
a thing of beauty. I loved it. I mean, you had like.
Wait, is that former Senator Matt Kassian talking?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh yeah. You're playing in your building. You're beating the Toronto Maple Leafs, so a bunch of arrogant pricks, and they have fans in the stands who are also a bunch of arrogant pricks, and they have a lot of fans in the stands that are a bunch of, and so it's just like you're just sticking it to them a little bit now. On the flip side, you have to know someone's coming after you.
Yeah.
Like I love doing it. Like I love doing it. Is it disrespectful? Oh yeah, completely. 100% it is. And I saw all the people, and I think it's so dumb. All the people, and some of them that I respect immensely, and I love hearing them, and I love hearing their opinions, that were just like harping on, oh, the hockey code and sucks to your code and this and that. I'm like, well, life has an unwritten code, right? Don't we? I mean, there's an unwritten code to how we interact and behave with people. Why would it be any different in hockey? So is there a code? Of course there is. It's be generally respectful and don't be a douchebag. Now, Greg doing that, is he trying to be a douchebag and play a heel? Yeah, he is, and I love it. I love it. Now, on his end, you have to know someone's coming after you. It was like he was like shocked. He was like shocked that he was like, "Whoa, you mean Morgan Riley's coming after me?" And I'm just like, you have to know. And from a protection standpoint, you want to be protecting yourself. Like, Calvin C was in. What would Cass have done in that situation with the slap shot empty net? Well, I could take that two ways. One is if I was the guy putting it in the empty net, would I have done a slap shot? I think if the game and the climate of the game warranted it, absolutely. But I can tell you that the second after I did it, I'd be spinning around with my gloves 3/4 of the way off, just kind of like holding them by my fingertips, waiting for the first person to get close enough to me to fight them. Like that's what I would have been doing in that, just to send a message. Now, on the flip side, if I was Morgan Riley, what would I have done? I probably would have went and cross-checked him in the face. Or maybe cross-checking the arm, and I've sat on this a little bit because me and Tommy talked about it just briefly on the post-game show the other day. But it's like, I probably would have jumped him. I may not have cross-checked him in the face, neck area, to try to avoid this suspension and just or the multiple game suspension, and like slashed him and jumped him and just taken your automatic one gamer at that point. That I might have done. That probably is what I would have done. But hey, I don't think guys need to get cross-checked in the face. So it's not like I'm not encouraging people to go cross-check people in the face, but it's like, well, yeah, if you're going to play the heel and try to drive people crazy, you have to expect that someone's going to come after you, and you need to protect yourself. Now, on the flip side, if you're Morgan Riley, you're an important part to your team. You can't do something dumb that's going to get you kicked out for multiple games. So are you going to do it? If you're going to do it, try to do something that's going to give one game if you're feel that disrespected towards it. So, I mean, overall, I loved it. And the reason I loved it is not because, it's two rival teams that really don't like each other, that play in the same region. And yeah, you have an influx of Toronto fans. And so to stick it for your home crowd and to stick it to those Toronto fans who are just, as we get, called probably often here in Edmonton, just full of themselves, and full of Austin Matthews and full of all the play. Like it's just I don't know. It's a great storyline. So I'd love it, guys.
Gager, what you Cass? You obviously love every single element of this, which I love. Gager, what did you like? If you're gonna do that, whoever's the guy behind him is gonna grab him and do something to him. Cross check to the head. You're gonna deserve what you get. Probably shouldn't have done that, even in a moment of frustration. But Gager, what do you think of the way that it all played out and how the NHL is going to handle this thing?
Oh, I first of all, I agree 1,000% with what Cass said. There's little intricacies of professional sports that maybe a lot of people don't understand, but that is a sign of disrespect towards the other team. Right? Like when you see guys, when they score empty nets, they're scurrying off the ice more as a sign of respect. Game's over. No need to rub it in. They're going to give him some games, obviously, because of the look of it. But Morgan Riley did something wrong. He should have cross-checked right to the shoulder and jumped him.
Yeah.
Threw a few punches.
Boom.
That's
right in the arm, right in the arm, and then grab
grab
it. And then you take one game. Then you take your one game for an instigator
for
in the last 5
instigating
minutes,
something after the whistle stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he should have done. By it did kind of roll up the shoulder or whatever, and stuff. But Riley Gregg, I mean, again, another kid I used to hold as a young child. I love him acting like that. That's perfect in that situation.
I love it. It's so great.
Just the complete salt in the wound and do that. That is so awesome. It essentially he's the Bautista of the Ottawa Senators. Massive bat flip, and that's it. The two things are parallel. So people that don't understand it, look at flipping the bat after hitting a dinger and disrespecting the pitcher. The next guy up gets plunked. It's the exact same thing.
Calvin C is in and says, I think I'd rather take a stick to the face instead of Cass raining down blows upon me.
Yeah, I probably could do more damage, and that's where for me it's like that's the thing to do in that. But either way, the guys like in that, if it was him, the guy's probably going to turtle. So but you're more doing it to send the message back. Right, like, and that's what it is.
And in a less suspendable fashion, right? Like,
in a less suspendable fashion, and that's what people that are like, oh, the code, and you shouldn't get to cross-check someone, and who cares about the code because the empty net, like, who says slap shot an empty net isn't the code? I'm like, well, no, it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful. Like if you think about business, let's just think about business. Let's say you're bidding against a competitor on a job for a construction project or something, and you get the bid and the other person doesn't, and then you walk in front of that person's office and you just like give them a couple hip thrusts in front of that person. Yeah, you go full DMX. Yeah, like if you do that, like what, like. Does it make it right for that person to cross-check you in the face, like, and go just hit you? No. But is it disrespectful what you're doing? Yes. So don't give me this garbage about how the code is stupid or there shouldn't be a code and why people always with the code. Like it's a real thing. Like you want to treat each other with honor and respect and dignity. And if you cross the line, people are going to react. Now I'm totally fine with him doing it because of generally the other side being the Toronto Maple Leafs. You just have to know that there's going to be pushback to it. So yeah, I mean, listen, for me, should have cross-checked him in the shoulder if you're Riley. Make sure you don't get, because you are such an important part of your team, don't get the extra suspension. If you're going to take a one-gamer, take a one-gamer, make it worth it, grab him, get a couple shots in, even as he's turtling. But for Greg, I mean, I again, just moving forward for an Ottawa Senators team that is, I mean, second fiddle to the Toronto Maple Leafs isn't do enough justice to how Ottawa has struggled the last number of years, right? And to basically have a little bit of pushback, even internally, for a young team in that room to be, have this happen. And yes, they're saying, they moved on. They didn't like the cross-check. But that's what they're saying publicly. Like you don't want to think that this pulls them together internally the next time you play Toronto. And as a young team saying, you know what, we're going to stick it to people and we don't care what they do. We're going to do what we do. And yeah, I mean, guys, I the more I've sat on this, it's like the more it just makes me excited because it doesn't happen that often. And it's just fun.
I just love,
go ahead, Gage.
I just love the fact that in my mind's eye now, when Cass gets a client over another advisor, he gets right in front of him and starts hip thrusting. I can't get that out.
I do it in my office when no one's watching. That's the difference. Yeah, I'll still do it. Yeah.
I want to see around the city now, like when PCL gets a contract over somebody else. PCL actually has a crew of like 3 guys who go out and are hip thrusting in front of the other head offices. Yeah, I got a lot of time for that comparison, man.
But it's so true. Right? For all the people that are like, oh, there's not a code, like, because if you do that and you're in the construction business, are you going to, unless it's overtly like sexual assault or something, like harassment, like, right, let's just exclude that. Like, it's not illegal to do that, right? You're not going to go to jail if you do that, but is it disrespectful? And would most of us or all of us look at that and say, well, yeah, that's probably wrong and that's really disrespectful and you shouldn't do that? Well, yeah, we would. And you wouldn't have people being like, oh, like your moral code. Like you just wouldn't have that. So give me a break, all the people that are harping on the code, because it's a real thing. It goes beyond hockey. It applies to the rest of life as well. And yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting fired up about that side of it because that's like the part that bothered me was people being like, "Oh, code."
I can actually confirm that Terrence Sandwith does do the hip.
Yes, it's just. What do you think of this? I could see him doing that. That'd be pretty good. Oh, that's too good. Okay, so he's getting it in person, so he's going to get slapped here with a pretty big number. Gage, do you think it should be a big number? I think it should be more like 2 to 3 games, or
2 to 3.
I mean, it's going to be with the in person. It's 5 at least, right? Isn't that what it?
Is it? Yeah, but it should be 2 to 3.
He'll get 5. He'll get the minimum that an in person was it 5 or 6?
I don't know what's the in person minimum is.
I can't remember what the in person.
It's more than 5, maybe.
Yeah, I could see him getting basically the minimum of whatever they're doing with the in-person, and with the reason being is that if he played for Edmonton,
6 games or more, 6 games or more.
6, yeah.
Perron
so he'll
got
probably
6
get
games, right? Perron got 6.
Yeah, he'll get
cross-check after the whistle. This is probably what's going to happen.
He'll get 6. Yeah, he'll get 6. He won't get more, and the reason he won't get more, I mean, they're kind of forced because of how visible it was, but the league hates suspending the Toronto Maple Leafs.
No. Sheldon Keefe says that there's a conspiracy against the Leafs.
Oh,
and that's
against
what
the Leafs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No,
the only reason this is being talked about so much is because it's a Leaf.
When I got headbutted 3 times, and they're just like, "Oh well," yeah, nothing doing.
Who headbutted you?
It was Fraser McLaren. We laugh about it.
Oh, that's
now.
a big guy. Yeah,
it was pretty mad at the time. Well, he couldn't get loose, and I was beating the snot out of him, so he headbutted me. That's all he had. In that one, he's a tough customer, and we laugh about it now. We weren't laughing about it at the time, but like, no, that O'Keefe, of course, Sheldon Keefe is going to come out and say that, but no, it's quite the opposite. And I think every single team around the league, every organization that's not the Bettman's hip pocket organization, so your big organization, so Chicago, was Pittsburgh for a while, LA, New York, Toronto, like those teams, they get a little more leniency from the suspensions. In Toronto, more than anybody else, they get given that extra grace, which is why it's only going to be 6. It's not going to be more, because they want Morgan Riley back in. They want, from a league standpoint, they want Toronto in and winning. And I mean, some of the other teams, I guess, do too, because that means more money for the league, which means more HRR for the players, which means, more playoff revenue if they're in the playoffs and all those things that go along with it. So
Zedmo is asking, hey, do you guys remember the time Alfredson slapped that puck at, who was that? Who did he slap the puck?
Niedermayer.
Was it Niedermayer?
Yeah.
Scott Niedermayer?
That's the one. Yeah.
In the NHL?
That's Alfie, though. I love it.
That was like game 4 in the Stanley Cup Finals. Or game 1, wasn't it? I think it was game 1.
Was it?
Where he did that. Yeah.
Okay, so that would be against the code, I guess, for sure. Just quickly,
you break it when you're trying to make a point.
Okay, so this is what I'm curious. Like, so the slap shot into the empty net. I mean, in my rec league days before I had kids and was a psycho, I probably would have done the exact same thing. But what else? What else is there? Like, what else? It seems like the code only comes up when we're like, oh yeah, that would be against the code. I'm trying to think, like, what else? Firing a puck into an empty netter, probably going to be crossing the line. What else is there, Cass? Like, what else?
I mean, like, you go to like the Nail Yakupov, like sliding down the middle of the ice,
hot dogging a little bit.
Hot dogging a little bit, like not just celebrating. Everyone's fine with a celebrating that you scored. But like if you were to do the celebration and like stop in front of the bench and like.
Well, what about dropping the gritty? Wallman in Detroit dropped the gritty the other day after winning in overtime. Are we okay with the gritty, or is that against the code?
That's different. That's overtime.
That's overtime. Like,
yeah.
Again, like big celebrations. It depends on the moment. It's like if you, like, for example, let's say you were down 2-0 and your team and you scored the goal to be down 2-1, and then you went in front of the other team's bench, right in front of their bench, and did the gritty. Well, then it's just. Let's just take the same analogy and go like if it would be considered like hot dogging or out on the street to do it to somebody, if you like, then you'd say probably is against the coach.
No.
I can just see all I'm thinking of right now is Terrence Sandwith grittying outside another.
So let's say you're in like a charity race or something, and you thrusting and doing all that like right in front of them. Yeah, people are going to have a problem with that and be like, yeah, that's disrespectful. So if you like from a code standpoint, to break the code is you're doing something that's just blatantly disrespectful. And yes, there's nuance to it, and different people are going to view different things, just like people outside in the regular world are going to view different things differently. There's going to be shades on this, but there are things where it's just like that's blatantly like everybody knows you don't do that. That's one of them. That's one of them. So yeah, I mean, there's other things. Yeah. Go ahead, Gager.
You don't celebrate the seventh goal in a 7-1 victory.
Well, somebody
right?
said, what about first unit power play on the ice up 7-0?
Yeah, same thing, right?
That can depends on the situation. Yeah, first unit power play late third period, up by like 4, and they're really going at it, and a celebration for the goal after that.
Yeah.
The only time I can see that it's not okay is if someone's going for maybe a hat trick goal.
Yeah, or like a milestone, goal,
yeah,
like
milestone,
stuff like that that's different. But that's
even if the celebration, it's got to be like 50 goals at that point, right? If it's a 50 goal, it's okay to celebrate. But I mean, if it's some slug scoring even then, if he's scoring a hat trick goal, you can still cross check him in the neck if you want.
Somebody pointed out, shooting the puck on the goalie after the whistle, and that's something that's kind of frowned upon a little bit.
Snowing the goalie intentionally.
Snowing the goalie intentionally.
That would be one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Somebody said, what about Omark back in the day with the spin, pick it up, fake slap through the legs? I mean, but there was something on the line in that situation. He just happened to kind of hot dog during the play.
Yeah.
I liked that. I thought it was great. I remember afterwards because they played, that was against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yep.
And
remember how pissed off the Lightning were?
Stamkos had such a poopy diaper after that, and was talking about this guy hasn't been in the league long enough, and so total disrespect. The next night they were in Vancouver, and he did that. He did a stop the train and actually did a spinorama in the crease, where I think they've gotten rid of that kind of move. And so he essentially did the exact same thing the next night, and it was okay in that situation. It took me a while to start liking Steven Stamkos because he deserved a cross check in the neck. Maybe that's the criteria. How many people? Oh, what's
Tommy Gazzola says he's doing an internet test at Hudson's.
Oh, all right.
We're not bringing him on. He's just happened to be testing on the line. Yeah. You guys are like, everybody paused. They're like, what's going on? What's Tommy doing there? Yeah, Tommy's in behind the scenes right now online doing an internet test at Hudson's because he's going to be doing the pregame show at Hudson's on White on Thursday. So him and Maddie are just running some tests right now. B Mother Review says that was Marty St. Louis. That was Marty St. Louis. Was it Marty St. Louis who did the spin, or was that Stamkos?
No, it was Stamkos. Trust me. I never forget a crappy goal like that.
Well, it sets the stage nicely for the future of the Ottawa-Toronto rivalry. So,
yeah, well, and just Toronto in general. So McJesus is in to the nasty chat, and I think this would be absolutely fantastic. He's like, whoever gets the next empty netter against the Leafs has the opportunity to do the funniest thing of all time.
Oh my God!
Oh, isn't that good?
Please tell me they play. Who do they play tonight? They play St. Louis tonight. I was going to say, please tell me they play the Florida Panthers. And Matthew Tkachuk gets in on a breakaway.
Can you imagine Tkachuk doing that?
Just hammers one home and then slides along in front of the bench. Good. Like, come on, hit me. That'd be good.
The best thing is he scores and leaves the ice, so they can't get him. So that would be perfect.
Oh, that would be.
That would be really
so funny. See, that would be so funny. But now you just, as the Toronto Maple Leafs, like with the cross check, you open the door to that a little bit, where it's just like, again, and I think if you jump the guy there, like if you go to fight him, I think it's completely different, and people would have a completely different response. Like you might not have people that would go out and do that. But now it's because of the cross check and the way that it happened. It's turned into such a thing where it's like, yeah, you did open the door to that. And I hope that someone gets an empty netter against Toronto, and the next time they just and how perfect would it be? I don't know. I haven't looked to see who they play next, but like if it's whoever they play next and it happens like the next game. Oh, well,
that's they play tonight. They play tonight against St. Louis. So
perfect.
Yeah, Jordan Binnington scores in an empty net tonight and gives her a little trot by the bench. We'll see how that happens.
Just moonwalks in front of the bench.
We're obviously going to get to the Oilers and Wings here. Just one more on this one, because I saw a lot of the narrative out of Toronto was this team never does anything like this. This is good for them. This proves they're not soft to everybody else. To me, a cross check after an empty net goal by Morgan Rielly does not all of a sudden prove that the Toronto Maple Leafs are no longer going to be viewed as a soft hockey team. I thought bringing in Ryan Reeves was supposed to change that narrative, and apparently it still hasn't.
But has there been that narrative this year that they've been soft?
Well, I've seen Leafs fans talking about it for like the last 2 days.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just because they're trying to spin a positive on this.
But like with Bertuzzi and with Domi and with Reeves, that's what they were.
I don't think they were soft. I haven't. My perspective is that they haven't been soft this year. I don't think they've been soft this year. I mean, I don't think this changes that narrative because I don't think the narrative existed. I mean, they went out and they addressed that. So I don't think they're a soft team this year.
Gage, what do you think?
It helps to have that little hesitation of someone acting a little bit squirrely at certain points. You know, it's always just a little looking over your shoulder. I think they did a good job of addressing that. It's a step in the. I think this is a whole step in the right direction. This is a galvanizing moment for a team that's been considered kind of soft as puppy doo-doo for the past few years. So yeah, I don't think it's huge, but I do like it. I think it's something for the team to look at and feel better about themselves, I think.
VR Montenegro into the nasty chat says the player would instantly become my favorite player of all time if they were to go out and bury one in the empty net like that again. Oh my God, that would be absolutely hilarious. 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. This one isn't. It says, I'm sorry, guys, but the NHL needs more slap shots for empty net goals. It just, once somebody does it 3 or 4 times, it's just a thing. At that point, it's just accepted. Somebody yesterday on our show said, wait till somebody pulls a Michigan into an empty net. Instantly line, like bench clearing brawl at that point, which would be good. Okay, here's an interesting question. Burglar asked this. Then we'll get to the Oilers and Wings. But good discussion here on big story in hockey right now. Guys, what's worse? Your best defenseman getting a suspension, which he's going to get. He's going to probably miss about 20% of the rest of their games. Or no response at all at the time that happens. So you just let him fire a clapper in your empty net, go back to the bench, and you lower your heads and you sulk. Or you lose your top defenseman for 6 games. What do you guys? It's interesting. What's worse?
I think the sulking to me.
Yeah.
I think the sulking to me. I think. Let me just pull up the standing. I want to see where we're at here.
Well, they're in a wild card spot right now.
I mean,
but I don't think their wild card spot is
in jeopardy. I don't think. Yeah.
Well, they're only 4 points up on a wild card spot right now.
Yeah, with the game in hand. Yeah.
With their personnel, even it has to be situational a little bit. I think if Morgan Rielly, obviously their best defenseman, goes out for a certain amount of games, if the Leafs are not good enough to withstand not having him in the lineup and kind of hold their heads above water, then they're nowhere close to being able to compete for a Stanley Cup, which they're supposed to be able to do. So no, in their situation, I would say no response is, or having him out isn't as big as a deal. They should be just fine with the personnel that they
D. White is in. It says, imagine if all teams started doing slappers on open nets against the Leafs and only the
I know.
Leafs. Man, only Toronto. It's like a thing. The rest of the league is like, we all just slap the puck into the Toronto net. That would be, man, I wish something hilarious like that would happen in the National Hockey League. My God, that'd be funny. Yeah, Nick says, LOL, the new code, empty net clappers only for the Leafs. And if you don't do it, somebody else in the league comes after you in that situation. I think that would be pretty good. All right, the Edmonton Oilers into it with the Detroit Red Wings tonight. Sam Gagner apparently will draw into the lineup. They're going to go back to the old blue line pairings as well. Lots of questions here. You can text us anytime. We're in Two Guys and a Goalie, 780-218-9999 if you're listening on TuneIn or at edmontonsportsuck.com. And, of course, you can hit us up on YouTube in the Nasty Chat as well. Only scored one a week ago in Vegas, lost. Shutout against the Kings on Saturday, lost. Led to us posting a question this morning after seeing some of the reaction that we're seeing on Twitter and on the text line. Are people legitimately concerned about the Edmonton Oilers offense right now? And I'm just going to grab the results here to kind of launch into this conversation. 1,200 votes in. 67% say no, they're not concerned about the Oilers offense. 33% of people say yes. Cass, I'm not sure if you voted on it, but if you did vote, where are you at?
No, I didn't, but my vote would be no. I'm not concerned. Now, do you want to look at the McDavid line in particular and say, okay, you have a group that needs to get it going and they need to find a way? Yeah. Haven't been as good lately, sure. But am I overall concerned? No. And I'm going to point to that Vegas game. They had a million opportunities, and both from goaltending as well as some defensive plays, guys just blocking shots at the last second on empty nets, and a few other things. Like the puck didn't go in for them. But the opportunities were there. Now, they weren't against the Kings, but they weren't very good against the Kings. I would be concerned if we had seen them play really well a whole bunch of games and the offense was still dried up. But it's one game or two games. So, no, I'm not concerned.
Gage, what do you think about the offense right now?
No, I said on the Smash Hit Nielson show this morning, I am not worried at all about the Oilers scoring. They've implemented a sound defensive structure where that's winning them more games. The only thing that gives me pause, I would say, over these last three games is the inability to kill a few penalties, because their penalty kill was so strong for so long. That will be my kind of my ISO cam this evening to see if they can just shut down the Red Wings power play, because they do have some pretty good weapons that you'll see out there tonight.
Oilers and Red Wings tonight. If you have any questions about the game, 780-218-9999, or hit us up in the Nasty Chat as well. Sam Gagner is going to draw back in. Do you guys think you need to see more Sam Gagner? Or are you seeing the right amount of Sam Gagner right now? He's got more combined. He's got the same, I think it's the same amount of combined points as Janmark and Brown. And he's played like 20 games and they've combined to play like 90-some. So, I mean, if you're looking for production from a fourth line that really gives you nothing, I think you can make the case that a little bit more Sam Gagner doesn't hurt you, doesn't kill penalties like Matthias Janmark, who would be coming out of the lineup tonight, so somebody else would have to do that. But cast the management of Sam Gagner, and how much more do you think they need to see from him?
Well, he was the guy that was the easy choice to take out of the lineup because of the penalty kill. Well, now your penalty kill's faltered for a game or two. So you're like, okay, well, someone else, next man up. Janmark ends up being out. And I need more Gagner. We're stepping into the studio and we need more cowbell. We need more Gagner. Like give it to it's not the key instrument for the Oilers, but it's a great supporting instrument, and I need me more Gagner. So get him in the lineup. Get him in the lineup. If you're saying, okay, we're not getting what we want quite out of the bottom six, penalty kill, maybe I don't want to say faltered or sputtered, but it is had some challenges the last couple games. Well, let's put in a guy in the bottom six who has consistently found ways to put up points. So yeah, hey, I'm all for it. Get him back in the lineup. I think again, it was probably the easy decision and probably the right decision to have him be the guy that stepped out of the lineup when Perry came in. But you still need to work him in. You need to get him in. And as you said, Dusty, he's produced more offense than those two guys. So let's slide him back in there. I'm all about it. Absolutely.
Yeah, Cass, you're right. Just penalty kill not working. The guys that are on the penalty kill, although they were doing a quite commendable job before that, aren't scoring. Maybe looking for a little extra boost. I don't know what the what's Gagner to score tonight, Dusty.
I'm not even sure he's available.
Okay, because I to tell you the truth, I would sprinkle some on Gagner.
Look at you, hey?
Oh yeah, well he's done it. That's what he's playing against a former team. I think at home the crowd goes absolutely berserk when he does score. He scored top shelf from behind the net last game he played. I called Gagner to score a goal tonight.
Wow, how about that? Mark that down right now. Mark that down. Sam Gagner steps up and scores a goal tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers have 34 games to play in the next 66 days, which is a lot of hockey over basically just over a 2-month stretch. Somebody's asking earlier here today, says, Gage, would you just play Skinner for all 3 games this week? Gager, now we get into the time where this is the 66 days leading up to the playoffs. So this is 34 games in the next 2 and a little bit months. Of those 34, what do you think's a reasonable target? And you know how things go. I mean, if they need some wins down the stretch, they're going to throw Stuart Skinner in there and hope for the best. But, in a perfect world, how many games do you want to see Skinner play of 34 over 66 days?
So how many games is he at now, Dustin?
Let me bring that up for you. Let me bring that up.
34. I think he's going to end up playing over 60. I don't mind playing him at.
He started 35. He's played in 36.
35. So 30.
35
okay,
starts.
So yeah, I mean, so 35, 45. Yeah, he's getting close to that 60 plateau. Hopefully, there becomes a separation gap where the Oilers have really kind of solidified one of these spots in the Pacific, or you know what, even a wild card at this point. Maybe at that point you kind of can look to distributing the minutes a little bit more evenly. But these are pretty important games to solidify or get closer to home ice advantage. The Knights did the Oilers a favor, losing to the Wild. So opening up this, I believe that's 4 games in hand that they still have on them. I just think it's a different time. Stuart Skinner's a much more mature goaltender. I don't think we'll see the same type of performance once the playoffs roll around. There's a different mindset with him entering the playoffs this year. But I would like to see, if all possible, that they can try to keep it under that 60-game plateau, but I don't think that can happen. Yeah,
I mean, if he was going to get to 60, he'd have to only play 25 of the next 34, which, I don't know, Cass, does that seem crazy?
That's what I would like.
Yeah? So he gets 25.
I was going to say 25.
Pickard's usually just, he's steady enough. Can you find 9 games for Pickard in the next 34?
Well, you got how many back-to-backs you have?
There'll be a few of them in there, I think.
There's a few.
Let's see, there's one, there's 2, there's 3 back-to-backs. So there's 3 games right there. Is there another one in April? 4, 5. So you have 6. You have 6 back-to-backs here. So there's 6 games right there. You know you're getting. So there's 6 there, but because what does that take us to? Then you have to find another 3 for him, and you could put him in. You have a before the last back-to-back to the season game against San Jose. You probably, depending on where you are as a team from a point standpoint, you probably give him that one. So that's 7. You could look against like a Montreal. That's 8. Columbus. That's 9.
Look at that! You already found the 9 games for him.
You found the 9 games right there. So I think you can do it. Perfect situation. He's at like 55 games, but if we're being realistic about it, I think you're probably looking at 9 games for Pickard. So I think you can get there and keep him to that 25 games left on the calendar for Stuart Skinner.
I asked Gage this a little bit earlier on today when he was on the Nielson show this morning, Cass. But what do you think of McLeod, Fogle, and Holloway as a third line? With people saying they can't get anything from their bottom six offensively right now. That's supposed to be. I don't think you're expecting much from the fourth line, so you are expecting something from those three guys. I feel like they've all worked a little bit individually over the last little while. Maybe it hasn't clicked together,
but it hasn't clicked together.
Yeah. So what do you? Why not yet? Yeah. Just not enough time together.
That's a tough question. That's a tough question to answer. Because it's like I liked McLeod's jump last game. I thought he was one of their better players. Like one of the few guys who's like he was skating again. He was carrying the puck, looked confident. So I like that. But then we've kind of seen, I don't want to say a big fall off from Fogle, but where he hasn't been as good recently as he was earlier in the year. So it's tough. It just, for whatever reason, and I don't know the reason, that they haven't found ways to consistently be around the net, banging pucks in. Because that's like how Fogel's going to need to score, and McLeod, we know he's not one to be always around the net, but when he has scored, it has been around the net. And Holloway, the same thing. When he's got some opportunities, it's been around the net. It's not going to be a fancy line. So maybe as I'm talking and sorting this out and just kind of speaking what my brain is processing as I'm going here, maybe from a line standpoint, they do just need to do a better job of getting the puck and bodies to the net. Because they do have guys that can put the puck in or generate some opportunities around there. And that could be something, just focusing on, let's get the puck and bodies to the net. Let's get shots. Let's not pass them up. Let's not be too fancy. Maybe that helps them.
Yeah. Simplified game, essentially, I think, Cass. They play a very simple, hard-nosed game, make it difficult to play against, and utilize that speed, and that they could become a heavy line as well. I think just a solid third line, doesn't get scored on, and can hopefully find the back of the net at certain points.
Zedmo wondering, Holloway at center. Put Holloway at center, play McLeod on the wing. He's played further up in the lineup on the wing. Do you think that changes? It's a minor tweak, but both guys can play both positions. Cash, you think that would free McLeod up to maybe do a little bit more, or not worth it?
Cass is muted.
Oh, he is
I knew
muted.
he'd have it.
Ah, man.
0 days. Back to 0 days.
0 days. My goodness.
I mean, it doesn't change how they play in the offensive zone. So how is it going to free him up? And I've liked McLeod's play through the neutral zone carrying the puck. So I don't know that makes any kind of a difference.
B Mother Review says McLeod, Fogle, Holloway are not reliable scorers. I've been hopping on it. But depth offense is a problem for this team. Fourth line offense too. I think this third line should be able to produce here at some point. I think you'll start to get right, Gager. I think this will work. I mean, if not, somebody said you move Nuge around the lineup a little bit. What do you think about that, Gager? You move Nuge, put him in the middle somewhere, or what do you do?
That line was cooking so well at that. They got to find that again. I think that's more of a priority for the Oilers, to find that Hopkins, Hyman, and McDavid line where they were just so dominant through that stretch for over those number of games. And it would be nice to see some of them scoring with a little bit more consistency. But by having Connor and Leon separated, and with the focus of most teams trying to shut down those top two lines, that third line should be good enough, Dusty, with the skill set of those guys, the speed that they have, the size, should be able to be a good energy provider, and at certain points of the game should be able to push the river and generate some offense. I think, like, if it doesn't, it's very puzzling, and because these guys have taken steps. Holloway's taken a step. We saw McLeod go on a little bit of a run there and start scoring again. Fogle is, he's in my mind having his best season as an Oiler. So it's a line that should be able to do something offensively out
Dustin Nielson, Joaquin, Gage, and Matt Kassian with you here on Two Guys and a Goalie on Edmonton Sports Talk. You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999. The boys and I, since we're CFL DGens, we're going to be continuing live here at 1 o'clock for a little bit more time to talk some CFL free agency. Tommy Gazzola pregame show tonight at 5:30. Which one of you guys is on pre and post tonight? Matt Kassian in on pre and post tonight as they'll be breaking down that game against the Detroit Red Wings. Looks like they're going back to the regular defensive pairings that worked so well for such a long time. Gage, did you take anything away from what they were trying to accomplish with the other group, or was there anything that you liked from the blue line mix-up?
No, there wasn't really. I was hoping to see the Nurse and the Vin man kind of a little bit more dominant. I liked the kind of look of that. They were so successful for so long. If it's not broke, don't fix it. If something does happen to one of these guys, then reevaluate and see what pairs that you want to possibly Frankenstein together at that point. But look, like I said, the synchronicity of each pairing is at a point now where it's almost a little bit uncomfortable, I think, playing with someone else. They just know each other's tendencies so well. And quite frankly, we've seen over the last few games a little bit of they haven't been as good as they were previously. So hopefully they can get a little bit of that mojo back and start dominating. Well, not dominating, but providing good, solid defensive play throughout the full 60 minutes.
Cass, I could never really figure out exactly what was going on with the switch. I know some people are like, maybe they're getting a look at Desharnais up at Nurse, and then if they move out CC, they can see what Desharnais might be capable of if they're not going to try to upgrade a veteran defenseman, which I still don't think would make a ton of sense. But what do you think what were they trying to do there?
You might have injuries. You might have someone go down. Like you haven't had very much or any of that for the Oilers this year. And so I think you're just we're giving it a little bit of a different look. Now, I think this is your ideal pairing setup. This is what you probably will roll into the playoffs with. I have no problem with going back to it. I still am of the opinion that you need to bring in someone on that right side, not necessarily a top four guy, but someone that you can insert into the lineup if you need, that's going to be consistent. I do think for Desharnais, that was a little bit of an audition for that to say, okay, if someone goes down, we can slide him here with Nurse and he's going to be okay. I mean, I think that was the reasoning and justification behind it, to not have something completely brand new if you needed to switch things up in the playoffs.
And Kulak's so good. Like that, those two are, Desharnais's been great this year and he's made strides, but you can't not mention Kulak has been part of his growth as well. Kulak makes some plays that go unnoticed, I think, a lot in games. Like I think it was last game where he separated a guy from the puck with his feet, was able to protect it, then with the body avoided a check, sent a bank pass off the boards, tape to tape. There's things in his game that make, I think, Vinny Desharnais look even better. Not taking anything away from him, but one of the reasons Vinny Desharnais has been talked about so much recently is, I think, the play of Brent Kulak.
How risky would it be? Because I was reading an article today from Cult of Hockey, I think, and they were talking about Saravalli, talking about Broberg, and how he could factor into the deadline plans, but not as much as being traded, but as being a defenseman that they might be able to slot in here if they were to move a CC or a Kulak in a cap-saving situation to try to find this top six forward. And by all accounts, people who have been watching him in the American Hockey League have really liked this game. He's logging a ton of minutes right now. I still would be stunned if a NHL Stanley Cup contender moved on from veteran defensemen at the deadline to try to get help up front. Cass, on a level of how ridiculous that would be, how ridiculous would it be? Like,
I don't want to entertain it.
Broberg as a 7 in the playoffs, right? There you go. Maybe that's it.
Sure.
Maybe that's what happens. Like,
sure, but if you if you're looking CC or Kulak, you have to be you can't jeopardize your defense like what to get a top 6 forward. That doesn't make any sense. That makes absolutely no sense to me. You're trying to solve one problem and you're creating an even bigger problem. Like and for the money, and I know this, people, and am I completely biased? Yeah, of course I'm completely biased, and I will admit to my bias with Cody Ceci. But like you're not getting any better for anything close to the money that you're paying him. If you want an equivalent for Cody Ceci, you're going to be paying more money. He is on a value contract for the minutes and for what he does for you. You are not paying Cody Ceci very, very much. And so if you're going to say, well, we're going to move these guys out and we're going to just get you don't have anyone that you can slide in and fit there. I do not see that happening. I would be extremely disappointed if that happened for either Kulak or Ceci, and I think it would be absolutely craziness. I can't now trading something or moving a Broberg to add a veteran piece that could play that right side is your 6-7 guy, rotate out with Desharnais or whatever. Okay, I got time for that conversation for sure. Adding some defensive depth because you haven't had to deal with injuries. But no, I just think it's absolutely, I don't want to say laughable, but ridiculous. If you were to move one of those guys just to get another forward, doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, Dusty, you said it. I think it's a perfect situation that Broberg's in that 7th spot. He's a guy that wouldn't be playing a lot here. He's playing tons of minutes, so he feels comfortable, has that confidence going. Once the Oilers do get to game 83, he's a break glass in case of emergency kind of guy, right? He has some experience, which is great, some playoff experience. So I think even you look at that backup goalie situation. I saw rumblings of they need a qualified backup. I mean, they already have that. And plus, they have a guy with a lot of NHL experience in the playoffs that's playing a ton of minutes and playing really good now. So, yeah, it doesn't make sense to get rid of what you have with either Kulak, who we've seen over the last 4 years, I think it is, that what he's able to accomplish in the playoffs. He raises his game to a different level. And CC, you're not going to be able to replace him at the same price point.
Does seem risky. We're going to get a look at Detroit here, but it's talked about a lot. Like Broberg and his role and playing on this team in the postseason has been talked about a lot by certain people in the market. And to me, the only way that happens is if one of these guys is moved. And we know that they want to be in on like every top 6 forward that appears to be available. I think it would be like, it's like bizarro deadline day where every team in the world that wants to take a run at Stanley Cup is trading for a veteran defenseman at the deadline, not moving one out. It sounds strange to me. It sounds strange. The Detroit Red Wings, who are the opposition tonight, we talked a lot in the offseason and our preseason shows about Detroit, about Buffalo, about Ottawa, and which of these teams can kind of step up and get themselves into a position among a bunch of teams in the East that have been in the playoff for a long time. Looks like Detroit is trending towards being that team. Cass, what are you excited about seeing from the Red Wings tonight? And do you think this is something that they can continue to do for the rest of the season and find themselves in the playoffs?
Well, they're right there, aren't they? They are right there. Maybe a little bit earlier than I would have anticipated. Than probably a lot of people would have anticipated. But they're a young team, with some really good players. Moritz Seider, as we've talked about before, and maybe not having the points production that some people would expect, but by all accounts has rounded out his game quite well this year. I mean, it's a young team that works really hard, that does have some skill and has been having some success and some power play success. And, I expect them to come out. I mean, they're fighting for their playoff lives right now. With a couple of teams still right in that hunt, right sniffing around them. So it's going to be a team that's they're in playoff mode already. So for the Edmonton Oilers, you can't expect this to be we're just going to walk in here and do whatever we want type of game, because Detroit's not going to let that happen. Now they're not the Lidstrom, Yzerman Detroit of old, but they're a team that plays fast, and they're a team that plays structured, and they're a team that plays hard. And for Edmonton, you have to get back to what you're doing against Vegas and what you're doing on the run, which was just play that consistent, patient, high-paced, get pucks to the net when there's opportunities there. Don't be too cute type of hockey.
Yeah, you got to the Oilers have to treat this game like you're going with your friend to his buddy's place. So, and you're taking beers out of that fridge. That is the equivalent of the 2 points, because that buddy's never going to get those back, because you're never going to invite this guy to your place again, right? So these points out of the Eastern Conference are really important, that you don't have to give these beers back, so to speak. So they'll make the difference, I think, further down the line once the Oilers get closer to playoffs, where they can solidify that, hopefully, that home ice advantage.
Couple of messages before we wrap up. Lick Fury says he'd like to see Zub from Ottawa for CC or whatever's needed to make that work. I'd consider that a solid upgrade. And D. White says Broberg's a lefty, so he can't replace CC, and I completely agree with CC on a value contract right now. And Silver Capri 302 says biggest issue I've noticed since coming back is that they're trying to look a little pretty, too many passes when they need to just get the puck on net. Speaking of pucks on net, Detroit actually surrenders, I think, over 32 shots per game. So that's something that you could keep a tab on for tonight's game as the Edmonton Oilers take on the Detroit Red Wings. Tom Gazzola will have your pregame show at 5:30. I've got that EST parlay that I'm going to have the boys at CoolBet throw up for us as well. It's going to be the Oilers tonight on the money line, Detroit under 3.5 goals, McDavid with 2+ points, and Bouchard with a point. What are your guys' predictions for tonight's game?
Gagner goal.
Gagner goal. Yeah, you want that. Yeah, that's right. There you go. Gagner goal. Cass, what are you thinking?
4-2 Edmonton.
4-2.
With an empty netter, someone takes a slap shot.
Oh my God! Please, and it's Sam. It's not Sam. It's Zach.
Sam.
No,
Gagner.
it's Zach Hyman, who everybody loves, and they'd be like, "What is this about? This doesn't make any sense." A former Leaf doing this? What the hell? All right, that's going to do it for Two Guys and a Goalie today. Make sure you stick around here if you are on YouTube. We're going to slide right back over into the Hangout studio and kind of take a little bit of a quick recap on everything that's happened in CFL free agency today. Pre-game show at 5:30 tonight with Matt Kassian and Tom Gazzola. Post-game show to follow. Enjoy the game tonight, everybody. And Cass Gager, I will chat with you guys on Thursday. All right, see you later.
Peace.
Later, boys.